My guest at this time will host his Big Gay Brunch on Saturday, April 10th as part of GCW's The Collective. It's Effy. Effy,
Hi.
welcome back. Yes, thank you very much for taking some time to chat here today.
Yeah, you're catching me on a Monday, which is one of the craziest days of my week because it's post-wrestling weekend, which now, they're happening a little more, and pre me doing my show on Twitch. So my brain is a million places at once, and I look exhausted. I am.
It's okay. I got a little ring under my eyes here right now, too, brother. It happens. It's daylight savings time. It's weird weather. It's mania season. It's all that stuff right now, man. And, dude,
Yeah.
you have a lot coming up here. We're going to take a look back at some stuff you've done recently as well. And actually, that's kind of where I'd like to start, man. The last time since we chatted, you had not really got the Big Gay Brunch back up and running. But since then, you've done one full Big Gay Brunch and you've done a Big Gay block. So how does it feel for you? You mentioned you're working more often right now, getting the wheels moving again. Are you starting to feel like the indies are coming back to life a little bit right now?
Yeah. And I think, with everybody hopefully getting vaccinated by the end of the summer, really, this is sort of the finale of dealing with the COVID version of shows. Hopefully, the one in October was great. You're doing it in an environment that is restrictive. You're in Indianapolis, you have to have masks. The venue is very particular. And now we're kind of going back to Tampa and revisiting the same venue as last year, but only the outdoor portions of this venue. And you're seeing that we're still requiring masks. We're still requiring all this. We know everybody's vaccinated. Half the roster is already vaccinated, but we are still in that tail end where it's like, it's not worth the risk now more than it needs to be. Hey, we're going to do the show. You got to stand outside. You got to put a mask on. I feel like that's a fair assessment. But when we're looking past the summer, we're going, okay, well, the next step for the Big Gay Brunch is going to be even rowdier because we've never had a moment where we can just have random, wild ass, freeform celebration. And that's not just for our little gay community, but that's everybody. And so I think the live events are going to be even more exciting and spectacular. People are ready to get into stuff, but we got to do it safely until it's all clear,
Yeah, and you mentioned how GCW really does do it safely, and you guys have done a great job of doing that through the pandemic. But, WrestleMania weekend, there's going to be all these other shows going on as well. I mean, do you have any worries just about, all these people kind of descending on to Tampa for this weekend? As you mentioned, we're not quite out of the woods yet, or no?
We are not quite out of the woods. And I would say that I think when I speak about indie wrestling in general, my look has always been for outreach to people who wouldn't necessarily come to our events or participate in our video streams and try to get them interested in a way. And I can only speak for my show. And I know where I have kind of pushed is towards the gay community of Tampa, towards advertising in those communities, advertising to an audience that is more settled gay people that are in the area versus, hey, these are fans who are going to travel in for this. Because I think if you're objectively looking at the situation, the WrestleMania is happening. There's going to be a limited amount of people, they say. The tickets are very expensive. I just don't see as much crossover as the earlier years between that exact WrestleMania crowd and those looking for independent wrestling. And so we are in a tougher position, especially during a pandemic, to bring fans in. This is a travel show. The local scene in Tampa is going to put their shows up too. And there's a particular fan that wants to see those local talents and they're going to go do that. So I look to these promotions and say, okay, well, I hope you're prepared because this is not the WrestleMania weekend that everybody wants it to be in their brain. This is a whole different thing now. And I know that on our count, we're hoping people come up. We want people to buy tickets. We have people buying tickets, but our push has been for making sure that we can get people to see the streams and see the shows that way and see the shows, in this cool, big outdoor venue where it's going to look really cool. It's going to look really exciting, but not pressuring them to feel like they need to be there in person if they can't do that. If that's out of their reach, if that's unsafe for them, we're trying to make that stream as much of an important part where you feel like you're still getting the experience. And I'm hoping people will have their own little brunches at home. And, unfortunately, I have a show called Big Gay Brunch and I can't serve food right now. It's a tough, weird thing to be in, but we've made it work and we've made people understand that we're going to give you the best wrestling show we can give you. We're going to give you a little something of everything. And we hope that those people who, wouldn't normally spend their Saturday morning watching wrestling are going to take that risk to come out and meet with us. But I mean, we are, sometimes they say, oh, well, is there a disadvantage being LGBTQ? Sometimes there is, but sometimes you have a show in the middle of one of the gayest areas of Florida and you can kind of push on that. And so in this situation, I think we do have an advantage. And I think we do have a lot to prove and show, and I think people are going to be there. But I just don't know. And economically, it's a very hard weekend situation and week situation to read overall for everybody participating. It's just very difficult. And I think if you look at it the same way we used to look at, even 2 or 3 years ago, what a WrestleMania weekend would be, it's a very different story. And I kind of rambled there, but it's all kind of important,
No, I totally get it, man. And like, I dig the idea that you're tapping into that community there in Tampa, because I think you're absolutely right. And correct me if I'm wrong, you do not have a match yet announced for Big Gay Brunch, as I was looking at the lineup yet. Is that right, or am I wrong?
I do not.
Yeah.
The toughest thing about booking these shows with my face plastered all over them is that some people don't understand fully my sense of humor. And I've learned this the hard way. I have and we've chatted enough, I feel like I have a very particular point of view and sense of humor on things. And sometimes that can be read incorrectly. Now, I did go to college to study public relations, and I focus in crisis communication, which is when your company fucks up, I come in to help you figure out how to communicate properly to the public, why you fucked up, how you're going to fix the fuck up, and what we're doing in the future to stop the fuck. That is what I study. So when I look at like getting these people involved, I got a little off track in my brain there. Okay. But when I look at getting these people involved, what was the question again? Let me read you that.
No, that's fine. This is great. So I was mentioning how you don't have a match, I believe, yet announced for the show, right?
Okay, my sense of humor. So this is, I went to Southern Underground Pro yesterday and wrestled 2 matches, sure, and they hit me very hard. But in my match previously, I have thought the understanding would be, in the first one, here's a silly ass match with me for 7 or 8 minutes. That's not going to take up a ton of my card. That's not going to be the wrestling focus. That's not going to be, the big focus of the show, because I wanted that spotlight on the real matches of these true performers that I think really need that spotlight. And so I want to do goofy stuff. I want to do gaga stuff. I want to do weird stuff. And looking at this match, I've kind of hesitated on how to announce it, because we caused so much stir the last time, and they said, you can't keep talking about dildos, and you can't keep putting it in front of the young men who are in wrestling, and you can't keep talking about twinks all the time, and you can't keep doing that. And it's,
who's saying this? Ted Cruz? Like, who's saying this to you, Effy?
I get, wrestling people. And then here's the thing is, I'm getting advice from a lot of mid-carders, and if you look across the TV companies, boy, do we have mid-carders. They can work, they know where to cue, they know the theme song, they know where to pose, they're happy to take the 8-minute segment, and they'll never put another thought into it again, and they'll make a better paycheck than me. But they're all mid-carders. And so when I think of how I have to create a match, I am trying to create drama and tension and real emotion, whether it be goofy or silly or dumb, but stuff you can connect with, like getting blinded with, fake cum and having a sex doll attack you. These are things that are real. And so I don't know if I can announce the match yet, because this man is struggling, and he knows he's going to have to fight me, and he knows what it's about, and he knows what it's for, and he's brought it to my attention. And you could probably put context clues together here, but when I announce things in my Effy way, and I stipulate things in my Effy way, which you will also see in the AJ Gray Billy Dixon match. What the fuck?
That's on my list here. I was like, what is this? Yes, this is.
You will get there. When I think of these stipulations, I like to tell wrestlers and wrestling fans to zoom out sometimes. We are so used to the same fucking bullshit mid-card tropes and the same storylines and the same things over and over that I want to come in and I want to fuck people's brains up, and I want to present concepts to them that they immediately push away from because they go, it's ridiculous, it's stupid, he's leaning into the gay stuff too much, this is so silly. And then I want them to watch it, and I want them to go, God damn it, that was a goddamn story. They told every bit of it, and it was fucking great. And I felt real emotion in something that, when presented to me at first, had no right to cause that effect. That's the goal that we're like trying to push in here. And so when we're going and doing these shows, and I'm seeing these kind of criticisms of making things too gay, when I was booking this show, I was like, well, we're just going to keep making it even gayer and fuck them. So my match, and I hope I'm not the main event of my show, but it's very likely I will take that spot, not because of my own ego, but because I believe this performer deserves that spotlight. And looking across the card, I have Pero, in the in the tag team Twink Hunter Gauntlet, which you want to talk about, they used to say, oh, well, they're not going to show the gays too much. They'll make them do goofy stuff. Well, my advertisement for Para's tag team Twink Gauntlet, poor Odinson, who is literally Para's tag team partner, I wouldn't even put him on the advertisement. I said, we have enough straights on the show. We've let enough of them through. It's just Para's tag team Twink Hunter Gauntlet, but Odinson's going to help him. And that's the gist. But we just wanted that big fucking picture of Pero talking about he's going to hunt some twinks. And it sounds stupid and silly, but then you kind of look at it and you go, all right, well, when Effy can put together this match that is going to have these segments, and they're going to be with guys who wrestled in Japan, wrestled for All Japan Wrestling, wrestled for Evolve, wrestled all over the country, and they're going to get time in there to shine with them. And Pero is such a gracious human, and I still am going to bury him in twinks, but he is working so hard to make sure that this next generation of talent coming through, even if the situation they're getting on this show is some little tiny thing, the advice that they're going to be able to get and talk to and just be backstage with these people because of these ridiculous, dumb matches that are too gay and too weird and too this, we're actually providing more opportunity to get these tag teams out there, to show them against some of the best talent in the world, to show them in their own natural habitat. And will they get destroyed by Pero? 100%. They will get destroyed by Pero. He's the Twink Hunter, but it's a very cool way to sneak in, like, hey, we're actually doing good by our community and trying to get new people on the map and trying to get new people up. And then also taking, hey, here's people you've seen before. Let's put them in the craziest, weirdest main event style matchups you can think of and just go for it. And even a match without a stipulation. And I'm just kind of leading you here, but I'm excited about my show.
Go for it, dude. You're making it easy for me. Go for it. Yes.
I got so fucking stoned and I went to the AWE Atlanta wrestling show that was running during the pandemic. And I was sitting there and I was so fucking high, and they had this light show thing on the ceiling. And I'm looking down and AC Mack is cutting a promo. And I said, God damn it. I said, he's the best LGBTQ wrestler in the world right now. And then I was standing there and it was, 10 in the morning at Fight Forever. And I'm watching Dark Sheik wrestle. And I go, God damn it. She's the best LGBTQ pro wrestler in the world right now. And I go, well, fuck it. Let's find out. And now I'm in this crazy position where I can go, you know what? They fucking rule. Let's put them in a fucking high caliber match and just see what happens. And it's like, yeah, they're both members of the LGBTQ community. Yeah, they're pretty outspoken and do their own thing. But also, like, these are professional wrestlers. And I hope everybody at all these other, we like pure wrestling and we like regular wrestling and wrestling should be this. I hope they're paying the fuck attention, because every time Dark Sheik has showed up, she shows out. Every time AC Mack shows up, he wins belts and talks his shit and goes crazy. I think putting that special spotlight on both of them at the same time, like, WrestleMania 26, what? I don't know. I've never even seen it.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool to hear you talk about how you don't always see yourself in the main event. And I can kind of speculate pretty loosely, maybe accurately, on who maybe you'd be teasing here for your Big Gay Brunch opponent. But, man, you had a hell of a main event at the last one with Cassandro and Sonny Kiss, man. Two people that just kind of define this generation, I feel like, outside of yourself, when it kind of comes to the LGBTQ, community and pro wrestling. That had to be something special for you to be able to bring that to the fans out there.
Yeah, and I think, even knowing Sonny and I've spoken with Cassandro at shows before, I was so nervous to come to them. Like, when you're on the inside of it, you're not going, well, this is going to be a pretty big event. This is a pretty big deal. And there's a lot of eyes on this. You're just kind of going like, I hope they want to be on my show. And I hope they're excited when I tell them. Yeah. But then getting those two there, like, not only are they both just wonderful professionals to be around and just know how to handle themselves and are helping everyone out and letting everyone talk to them and ask them things, but to see Sonny, someone who is on television and who is doing this and is in this, primetime cable position right now, still under the learning tree, and having Cassandro kind of help guide and teach and, all of us, stepping in and listening. It's just like, it's bananas incredible to see that come together. And, Cassandro was nothing but the most gracious professional the whole time. But there was a moment at the end where I look over, and I think this was before the clusterfuck. And so Cassandro was resting, and my boyfriend was there, and Pero's husband was there. And Cassandro, Pero's husband, and my boyfriend are just sitting at a table together, drinking soda, hanging out. I think my boyfriend had champagne, but Cassandro was not drinking. But they're all hanging out, sitting at the table, just chatting, just being girls, having their time. And I was just like, what a weird thing that I can put myself in, where my boyfriend's just casually over there with one of the top LGBTQ pro wrestlers who just trailblaze, and it's just like it's no big thing. Like we're hanging out. I love Cassandro. She's so fun. Like it was blowing my mind to have that, with my name slapped on it.
Man, yeah, that's wild, dude. That is really crazy. So, like, for what is Cassandro like in that space where, I mean, this is a locker room where I'm sure you all feel very comfortable. It's very different than other locker rooms he's been in, especially up here in the States. I'm sure this got to be a very unique experience, him to be in a space like this.
Well, yeah. So, and I'm looking at Cassandra as this just like royal, monarchy figure, and I'm bringing them into a weird Coliseum building in Indianapolis with a like warehouse horse barn behind it that we're all changing in with porta potties. It's not the most glamorous place in the world, and everyone would kind of tell you that. And just to see that like not bother them at all, they had no problem with it. But right when this is the real tea, right when Cassandra got to the venue, walks up to me and he goes, why did they all walk past me and didn't invite me in their car? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I was at the hotel waiting and they walked past me and they didn't invite me in their car. And I was like, well, we got you the Uber, right? And she was like, it was so weird. Well, I talked to one of the people that had passed earlier and they were like, we were so nervous. We didn't want to talk to Cassandra. And after that, I was like, oh my God, they were so nervous. And he was like, no, never nervous. You come talk to me. You come tell me what you need. And now, and from that moment, I was like, okay, they just wanted it to be easy, wanted this to be done, but was so professional the whole time. Like, it's easy. I wish everybody was that easy to work with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, he's a pro. This year's collective is going to take on a little different feel. Obviously, you're going to be there. We'll have a great Bloodsport, show with Josh, for the culture. But man, spring break, dude, it's been taken over, right? And obviously, you had a chance to, you played a little interference here at Take Care. There was a little moment there where we thought that you would join the dark side, Effy.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you kicked Ricky Shane Page in the balls. You did the right thing, but how fun was that for you to tease Dark Effy there for a brief moment at that show?
I'll say this. I think Dark Effy is here. I figured out in my mind that I'm the most chaotic good I can be, but if you're looking at a certain perspective, I must look like a crazy supervillain. And the thought I had was like, all right, well, are they going to give a fuck if I do this? And second was, can they trust in me for like 4 hours if they don't believe it's real to like at least see this through? And I have to say, first off, yes, I could have just kicked Joey Janela in the face and he would have won the belt. And I wasn't thinking about that. I was in the moment and I was heated and I had to stand out there with fucking 440 all night and they made me bleed everywhere. Look at this. The side of my head has still got a fucking cut in it.
Yeah,
I'm still pulling bits of bamboo out of my head. It was not fun in that case, but it was like, those guys are so full of themselves and so stuck on their ways that like, if you just like kind of agree with them and let them play Pied Piper, like he calls himself the deathmatch Robin Hood, Ricky does, but he's like a Pied Piper for like lame dudes from Ohio who can't get bookings outside of Mid-South. Like it's a weird thing that you have to kind of convince them that you think it's cool. And when you're actually cool, it's usually easy to convince people who aren't cool that you're cool with them. But with Ricky, it was like, he's always so schemy and they've got their whole little thing going. I don't think I spoke more than 5 words to Atticus Kogar after the whole situation. That's the most I'd ever heard him speak about anything was offer me the damn t-shirt for the club. Yeah. And now they've got spring break. And I think that sounds worse than it is. They said the clusterfuck's canceled. I don't think people realize that not only is Joey Janela out of his mind and this is his baby and he's going to do everything he can to try to fix this and make it right. But also like Nick Gage is here. And
yes,
I like joining 440 and seeing Nick Gage in the building and trying to hide all night was like the most terrifying shit. Because I could be like, hey, Nikki, I'm just pretending. Like they're watching Nick all night trying to make sure he's not fucking around with stuff. I'm like trying to hide. It's just a whole shenanigan. With him back though, it's like, okay, Ricky, like go find out. Like that dude's been sidelined with a stupid ass calf injury for the better part of half a year. And now he gets to come back and just like fuck you up and like take back over. And having Nick Gage back in a GCW locker room means everybody's on fucking notice because the moment you can't match Nick Gage on intensity and on bringing it and on giving 150% every night, he's going to call you out for it. And he's going to let you know that you're not on his fucking level. And having that kind of caliber of a person in a locker room, everybody goes even crazier. And so I think, I'm looking at the pandemic wrestling, and were people a little beat up and a little like bummed out about stuff? Yeah, I mean, of course. But were people really trying to go out there and put on the best matches they could in this time? 100%. But do I think they could do it better if Nick Gage had been there the whole time? Yeah, 100%, because he's always pushing everybody to get to that level. I just hope you're ready, Ricky. My plan didn't work 100%. People did give a fuck, though. I was trending in the US at one point.
You were.
Just because I fucking joined 440, which is bananas to me on an independent level, to just like be able to move social media a little bit, to be able to see it go and go, okay, we did do something.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I looked at that little kind of bottle episode there that you got to tell at Take Care, right? And I see Nick Gage coming back here, and him and Ricky, dude, like, this has got to be emotionally one of the most hyped matches of all of WrestleMania weekend. I mean, I'm talking over a year of really building to this moment here. When it comes to story, a lot of people think of GCW, they think of these fun shows like yours, they think of death matches, but they don't really talk about the stories I feel like the GCW gets to tell. Do you feel like GCW gets overlooked a little bit in the storytelling department compared to other promotions out there?
Man, this is where I'm going to get scandalous.
Okay.
And I'm allowed to. Here's the deal. Anybody who talks shit about GCW is trying to influence a particular mindset to make sure that it's not found out publicly that all of them rely on GCW. All of them. We are the pipeline. It's not your fucking fantasy factory, up in North Georgia. It's not your fucking NXT studio. Y'all got 200 people down there who can't cut a fucking promo or get through an arm drag. And we're putting on levels of storytelling where once these office fucks see it, they go, we got to have it. Look at the last year. Look at who's been picked up. Look at how quickly they take talent off that roster. You're sitting here looking at Brett, and he loves GCW to death, and he's going, how do we keep him here? And I go, we just have to keep making it good and keep making them want to participate and making them want to come along for the ride with us. But anyone who says the GCW, and maybe they've had their little flurries, but I always see that care put into making sure the stuff makes sense across the board. Yeah, we want to highlight new characters. We want to put on these crazy matches. We want to put some weird dream stuff together, but there's always these interweaving things going through the show. And even the way we're building the card here is like, I have these stories interwoven. I have these things built in. Billy Dixon is doing commentary on AJ Gray's show For the Culture. These are both GCW presented shows. I know this is already going to be an issue. I know this is already going to cause problems, but he wanted the match, and I said he could do the match, and AJ said he would do the match. So
what is the match? What is the match, Effy? What is the censored part of this match?
Imagine if Dusty Rhodes went to a gay bar, what would happen? If Dusty Rhodes and Pero went to a gay bar, that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll make sense.
Okay. Got it.
But I hear this sometimes that, like, oh, well, they're just going to do the hack job death stuff. But you look at the way they have structured, look at Jimmy Lloyd and G-Raver. If you go back and watch the story over these years, I mean, this goes back to Chicago. This goes all the way back to Jimmy fucking G-Raver's arm up and paralyzing him and putting him out of action. And he still is regaining the use in his hand. And he has put Jimmy through a fucking I Quit match and then put him through a no rope barbed wire match. There is dense storytelling if they want to look for it, but it's much easier to go, well, it's just indie mud show trash. It's indie mud show trash. And then have all the boys sign contracts for big checks because you've seen what they are capable of. And it's perfect for your television show. But we're trying to prove that, like, this isn't the stepping stone anymore. Like, GCW is the real fucking deal. We can go big. There's no reason you can't do GCW in a 5,000 seat arena in a year. There's no reason.
Well, and at GCW, they just acquired Jersey Championship Wrestling. I just got that press release last night, and I thought that was a big step there. I mean, and you talk about GCW not just being a stepping stone. That's a big dog move right there when you take on an acquisition like that.
Yeah, and I think, I've really seen Joey Janela's interest come back pretty strongly to make sure that, this next crop of guys has an understanding. And I think they're going to use this as a really good way to not only have a safe space for wrestling in the Northeast, like what a crazy place for wrestling where everyone keeps fucking ruining things, but to also be able to give them the experience to where when they do get on those big stages and they are put in these moments where, you've got to have your timing, and you've got to know what you're doing, and you've got to know your cameras, and you've got to know your stuff. We've already set up to where these are characters that are comfortable with everyone, and they've seen what they're capable of, and we've been able to take the hinges off a little bit. Your starting match might be a little short, but when you have these secondary and third brands, you can expand on these characters so much more, and it keeps people participating, and it keeps people wanting to see what's next, and it keeps bringing me good opponents. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I want to shift things up here a little bit to wrap it up, Effy. Obviously, very excited about Big Gay Brunch. I think we've hit just about all the points we can at this moment on the show. But you got another big project that I'm hoping sees the light of day. I had a chance to chat with Mikey Gordon about a pro wrestling movie, The Legend of Dirty Ron, and you look like you are having the time of your life as Rainbow Star, the champion in this movie. How did you get involved in Mikey Gordon's little stoner pro wrestling fantasy film here?
So, and I have to preface this in a way to say, I think a lot of people assume I don't pay that much attention to real wrestling. Like, if you were just kayfabe looking at me, you'd be like, that guy doesn't really care about wrestling. But I know everybody. I know every wrestler everywhere. I keep tabs on everything. And I was in New Orleans for WrestleMania, and I walk into this bar, and everybody's like, David Arquette's upstairs, and Dolph Ziggler's here, and this and this. And I look and I go, holy shit. I go, are you dirty fucking Ron McDonald? He was like, how do you know who I am? I was like, bro. I was like, I've seen your shit before. And we connected in this weird way where I recognized him. And we talked a bit because, he was helping out with some of the West Coast GCW shows and making sure that, talent was taken care of, helping out with, adding a show on the end. Hey, bring him to San Diego. So we had chatted a bit there, and he reached out to me and he was like, do you think you could be gay Ric Flair in a movie? And I was like, bro, absolutely, I could be gay Ric Flair in a movie. And during the pandemic, thank God, he put a lot of savings into this first. I call it a first draft because I think they want to refilm a good bit and really put some steam behind it with the feedback they've been getting.
Yeah.
But I was able to just put on this blonde wig and be a piece of shit. It's that dark Effy again of just let it out. I mean, that's how I started out, was being a piece of shit to conservative white Southerners and getting my chops that way. Well, now I just get to be an expansive piece of shit as Rainbow Star and be as narcissistic, egotistical, crazy, and full of himself as he can. And just they gave me this, you can see the costuming in the trailer, but I have this full spectacle, peacock, giant sparkle glitter robe. And I just you can ask them, I was wandering around the set all day, just shaking my robe. They're like, you've become Rainbow Star.
That's good, man. I love Mikey's attitude here of I want to help independent wrestlers make money in the business without having to go wrestle and be a part of shows. He's kind of try to create pro wrestling ensemble films. Do you like this idea? Do you think this is something that's outside the box and may have some legs, in the future?
I think when you look at wrestlers, and someone said to me the other day, they go, you're gonna have the longest day today. It was at some pro wrestling taping, and I was like, brother, I always have the longest day. This doesn't concern me. We went and did the sub tapings yesterday, and 4 of us drove up from Atlanta to Nashville and drove straight back and wrestled in between that, for 10 hours. When you talk about wrestlers in acting, we're so good at it because we're used to having to do one take. We're used to having to go full intensity with everything. And we're used to having ridiculously crazy long days that are just exhausting. And so when you have these opportunities for guys to be able to flex their character and personality and the timing and comedy and just movement and action skills in this acting world, they really excel at it. And it's just finding the opportunities to do that because, the path has always been, you got to get to the Fed, and then you got to win 6 belts, and then you got to go 5 years, and then you got to get a bad part on a TV show on USA. Then you got to come back to the Fed, and then you leave again and get a B movie, and then occasionally and to be able to say, we just want to make art, we want to show off what we can do, and be able to do that on a lower budget. It's I told him, and some people don't want to hear it this way, but it's very ICP.
Oh, well, he's very ICP. That's where Dirty Ron McDonald came from. Was in Tin Clown Posse, Juggalo Championship Wrestling, I believe.
Was that the origins?
I believe it was. I mean, based on the research I did, and he didn't correct me in the interview, but I think it was. I think it originated at Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Yeah,
I love to hear that. Well, yeah, it's very that big money wrestlers, that kind of film sort of detail. It's exciting, and I think wrestlers will be good at it, and they just need to kind of jump out of the box on things because, especially now with the pandemic, I talk to a lot of people. There's not a lot of us who are just out here risking it, going, well, I'm just not going to work a job and see how this shit pays out. And I get it right now, but if we can have those opportunities where like, hey man, I can get you paid for 2 or 3 days where you don't have to, fall on your ass the whole time. It is going to open up a lot more doors to be able to keep people kind of able to be independent without going, well, if I can do this and just be dirt poor forever, or I can just go take the regular payday. I just want that decision harder. And I've always pushed for that. I want the best for labor, and I want, the best opportunities. And the fact is, the harder the decision, the quicker they have to follow us.
There you go. All right. Hey, Effy, I want to thank you so much for giving me a little extra time. I know we went a little long here, and that was on top of all the time we had with the technical issues before. So
I know
our 20-minute interview became an hour, but it's whatever. I always
it's
enjoy
good.
Great. It's fine. Thank you so much, Effy. Where do you want to send people to find you, follow you, support the show, and get more info about Big Gay Brunch, all those things?
Yeah. So it is on Fight TV. I don't know the exact link out loud. You can pre-order the stream on Fight TV for Effy's Big Gay Brunch 2. We will also have the tickets available. That is effygaytampa.eventbrite.com. And then if you really just want to find out what's going on, it's Effy Lives, EFFYLIVES. That's where you can find me everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Pro Wrestling Tees, Twitch, Facebook, all the places. It's Effy Lives. They tried to kill me, but they couldn't.